recording, and let's see, admit all. First, I need to find, I think, okay, it's should be, okay. So we will start from what left over yesterday, okay. Yesterday, we briefly discussed about Python and some packages. And here's more. We mentioned the NumPy and the pandas, is it? And for machine learning, hold on, let me get admit all. And for machine learning, the sklearn, okay, it's quite a powerful package, okay. There are a number of machine learning algorithms included in that library. And for deep learning right now, one of the points is TensorFlow, okay. And then what's the next is about a specific statistics analysis package. It's called STIS models, okay. And so this is not our focus. And we will cover a little bit of sklearn because we also have another a class dedicated for machine learning, and in that class we will do the systematic learning about machine learning. And I remember yesterday I also briefly mentioned if that's just see if it's your preference, okay, and you can install Anaconda. And if you install Anaconda and it takes care of everything, okay. So you install Anaconda and then you will have Spider, and we will also have Jupyter Notebook installed, okay. So it's, and here I also gave, after you install Anaconda, and also if you want to make sure everything works, you also need to do some setup. So here I also gave a very brief setup instruction about how do you add a path for Python Jupyter Notebook in system environment. Okay, so you can use this as a reference. So this is the general part about Python, and then so starting from today, we will go to Python programming language quickly. Okay, review Python programming language. So we will start with, so in our on our website, you will see this note, okay, called note 2.1. So we will start with that. So I'm going to start with note 1. Okay, so once you, there are a couple of ways you can initiate Jupyter Notebook. Okay, you can do command line, and you can also find it under, if you have the start Anaconda, you can also find it and start with Jupyter Notebook. And once you start with Jupyter Notebook, basically Jupyter Notebook, it's opened in a browser. Okay, so that's why we will see it's very it's quite simple to use for Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so it's not like IDE. And so this is the general overview about Jupyter Notebook. And so Jupyter Notebook, it is organized by cell. Like right now, what you see is a cell, and you can type a statement, or you can call it a command line, is it, on this single cell, okay, and you can insert, generally speaking, you can do insert cell above or below. So you can insert cell above, you can also insert cell below. So let's see, like this one. Below, is it? So you can specify where you want to insert the cell. You can also delete the cell. You can also delete the cell. Suppose I want to delete this newly inserted cell. Okay, so that's how you add more cells. And generally speaking, after you initiate a Jupyter notebook, we don't use save as name. Generally, you do the rename. Okay, then you can specify a name for your notebook. And for whenever you like, let's see, we start a cell, insert a cell above. I insert the cell above, is it? But the cell generally over here, we will have two options for the cell. Like over here, this shows by default, this is a code cell. And then you can run this single statement or command in this cell. Okay, and there is another one. If you see, if I do the markup, then what this means, this is just kind of like a documentation, okay, like the comments, okay. And if you are familiar with HTML, okay, and it's very close to HTML, so you can also do formatting, okay. And we call, like over here, like this cell, okay, this is a markdown cell, we call it, okay, markdown cell. And so this is what you original write, is it original? And so this is much like, so if you have a single command, like a pound, it do something like this. And if I have double command line, is it? And you can see the font size changed, is it? So like a markdown 2, is it? You can also do with 3. So this is kind of like a title, is it? And over here, you see, I have a dash, is it? So for the dash, basically it's for the list, okay? And so that's called markdown. So it's not for your code, okay? It's generally used for when you write a notebook. It's good for you if you want to publish it, is it? And it's organized as HTML. And here there is a link to the markdown cheat sheet. Okay, so if you want to format it nicely, and you can use this cheat sheet as a reference. Okay, so that's regarding the two different cells. Then we can run this cell, is it? And for this code cell, you can just directly run it, is it? And in this case, because this is a Python output statement, is a print. So if you have other programming language, you will see it's very similar as an output print. And over here, it's a double quotation, so it's a string, is it? So it's a machine learning, so that's the output listed here. Okay, this down. And for the markdown, okay, for the markdown, you can also run cells, is it? Run cells using the menu run cells. And for the markdown, did you see after I run it, it shows. So this is just for the documentation publication, is it? So it can be formatted nicely, okay? Okay, so this is general basic information about Jupyter Notebook. And like we already say, okay, print statement, it's generally we started to learn, the first is about print out statement, is it? So this is you output a string, is it? And the next, like for this line, B equals something, is it? And you may say it's quite different, is it? For Python, then in this case, this is B is a variable. But in other programming language like Java or C++, C#, is it? They are strongly typed programming language. Okay, so whenever you define like an integer, you need to do integer I and the semicolon. Is it? So this is variables type. But over here, if you take a look in this case, for this Python programming language, so over here, B, it is a variable. Is it? But there is no type here. Is it? There is no type. And then, but whenever you want to store some value always has some type associated with it. Is it like an integer takes 4 bytes? Is it something like that? Is it? So then how can the programming language know? Is it? So in Python, the variable doesn't carry type. Okay, so it's not a typed language. So Python is not a typed. So not a typed programming language. And so in Python, the type associated with what? With objects. Okay, and over here, this is an object. Okay, what is this? This in Python, be careful, okay, square brackets in Python is not array, okay, and the semicolon is it something like, this is a list. Okay, it's some special data structure used to store group of items, okay. And in Python, we don't have array, basically. So we use list a lot, okay. So list can be used to store a number of items. And there is another difference in Python as list is not homogeneous, it's a heterogeneous. Yes. What does it mean heterogeneous? So you can store one, then next is a string. Okay, so you can store different types. So this is different from other programming because other programming is strictly typed programming language. Is it? And Python is not. So it allows different type of data be stored in a list. So this is a list, okay? And also in Python, if you does something like a variable, then question mark. Is it? So this question mark means you want to know some detailed thing about this variable, okay? So it will give you, so it's kind of like a query, okay? And we can try to run and to see what it looks like. If you take a look, B question, is it? If you take a look here at the bottom, so it gives you the explanation, is it the type, okay, value, how many items, and then the Python documentation explained, is it? Okay, so when you do the coding, if you want to know something, you can do the question mark. Okay, so that's a helpful tool. Okay, and I need to close this. And you can close it. There is a close. Then what's next? Let's take a look. The next cell. Okay, the next cell, the first one we know it's a print statement. So here is you assign. So basically what this statement means is assign a list to variable B. Is it? Okay, and in Python, there is another nice the question mark we already know. It's you get the documentation of that specific variable. There is another quite useful thing. It's called tab. So if here you do B dot and then tab sign, the tab key. Okay. So did you see? It lists all related function. Okay, from list. So this is kind of like a context, is it? So it gives you some prompt, okay? So you can use this to do, it's called tab completion, okay? You can also use this if you cannot remember all of the functions, is it? So it's quite helpful. Okay, then the next one, let's take a look. what does this mean? So over here, we can kind of guess, is it? So this is a this is a function. So this is how Python define a function. And if you take a look, it's a function name. And then following by parameter. And if you take a close look, it's different from other programming languages. For Python, you don't need to provide the return type for function. So no return type, but always start with this def. Okay, then just follow by function name and then parameter. And also for parameter, there is no type. Is it because Python is not a typed language? Okay, so no type. So for what this method does is it's quite straightforward. It's just add those two parameters together, is it? And also be careful for Python function is whenever you define a function, you need to have the colon. Okay, so in other programming language, we always have the pair of brackets, is it? So in Python, no brackets. Okay, so it's use colon to indicate that the following are statements going to be function body. Okay, and there is no brackets for block. And in Python, then how do you identify block? Is it? So in Python, the identification for block is indentation. So you must do this indentation return, okay? If you don't do it, that will not work. Then it's not, so then your function definition is wrong, okay? So you need to do indentation, okay, indentation. So that's what you define a function. So over here, we define this function is very simple, okay? You define a function. And what next you does is you call the function. So this is similar as what other programming language do. Is it? So you just plug in its name and with the arguments. So here I plug in two numbers. Is it? Okay, so that's this cell and you can run it. So with a So in Jupyter Notebook, you can also see that you can run a single statement in a cell. You can also put multiple statement in a cell. Okay, and also in Python, we don't have that. You see, it's not like other programming languages that you have a main method and then it does need that main method to run, is it? And over here, it's not, is it? You just have the statement and then it's run because it's what? Python is scripting language, is it? So it's not a compiled language. And then you need to have the main to run. Is it? Here, each statement is independent and it can run, is it, on its own? Okay, so that's the about how to define a function, the structure. Okay, later on we will see more. And what next one shows is inside the Jupyter Notebook. Okay, for the for Python, you can also do the percentage. Okay, so following percentage is some command. Is some command. So this kind of thing, we call it what? We call it magic command. Magic command. Okay, so in this case, it's try to list your current directory. Is it? So this is my notebooks directory, so it can give you. So you can also borrow, so it also execute commands, is that? So that's what this part shows. And what the next one shows, the next cell over here shows, you can also, so this is some package. And in some other language, you also call it library, is that you can do like in C++ it's called include, is it? And in Java it's also called import, is it? And here we import this JSON package, is it? And then you can do something. Here it's try to open some text file, is it? And we don't need to worry this. Okay, later on we will explain. And so anyway, so this import is try to import some package. Okay. Okay, and then what the next one show? Yeah, is more about function. So here I define a function. This function has 3 parameters, x, y, z, etc. And so we all know programming languages, so it's pretty similar. So this is for arithmetic operation plus, and this slash is integer division. Okay, integer division. And then you can assign value and then call the method, is it? And then you can do the what the function specify. Okay, nothing new. And this is just open file. Later on, we will have dedicated note to discuss the file handling. Okay, and like I already explained, is it? So this percentage sign means it's some, we call it magic method, magic functions, is it? So you can execute some command here, okay? And what the next one try to show us here, is it? How do you get input? Is it input? So in Python, you can get input with this input statement. So like in Java, it's a scanner, something like you get some command line input. Is it? So in Java, if you want to do that, you can do input. Okay, input. And whatever you typed in input, it's going to be handled in string. Okay, so in Python, string is str. Okay, and over here, if you want an integer, then you need to convert it. Okay, convert it. And then you assign it to this variable age. Okay, and we can try and see this. Is it? So then you see over here to prompt you to enter something. Is it? So that is a string, and then you convert it to integer number 90. Is it? So similar for this. This is also a input statement, and here you don't convert. Is it? So name will carry string. Okay, will carry string. Okay, so what the next part shows is over here we have a Python file later on, okay, in the same directory. So this is a Python file. And here you see you can also run a Python file. Is it with that magic command? Is it the percentage sign? Okay, and also over here. So this is a command, and then this is the argument, is it? So the magic command, magic function also take arguments, okay? And later on, we will take a look. And over here, it shows more, is it? So this is regarding plotting. Later on, we will learn this library in detail, okay, about visualization. Okay, and what the next one try to show is we can import some package. So this is previously we learned, just learned the name, is it? So NumPy, okay. So NumPy is a package. So numeric calculation. It's a numeric computing package in Python, is it? And a lot of time you can also simplify it. And the way to simplify it, you can do import NumPy as NP. And we use that a lot, okay? Like import something as NP, is it? Oh, hold on, okay, someone is, okay. And over here, like for that matplot library, is it? And why I can, okay, I can admit. It's a pyplot package. You can also do something like import it as LT. Okay, we see that a lot. Okay, and for this following statement, you don't need to worry because later on we will learn that. And that's pretty much this first note. Okay, and you can kind of get some basic idea about Jupyter Notebook and some very basic Python programming idea. And what next I'm going to discuss is over here. Let's see. Okay. The second slide, Python review. Is it because we already went over a little bit? So here's just a quick recap. Okay. So the tap completion, if you recall, so if you like for list, that you don't remember of the list function, then you can do the tap. Then it will give you the prompt so that you can select. And the question mark. So if you want to know the detail about something, the documentation, you can use a question mark. So it will give you that. And this magic command line, etc. Okay, so that's and then let's over here, let's take a look, some concept, okay. And we just said, so in Python, there is no braces. Okay, no braces. So any block, like if block, like the condition block, loop block. Okay, so anyway, any block identified by indentation. Okay, so keep this in mind. And what next show is object model. Okay, so in Python it says number, string, data structure, even function, class, module, and so on. In Python, it says interpret in its own box. They refer as Python objects. Okay, so be careful. Okay, and then Python, like I said, Python, you don't need to declare variables type. That's not the way it works. But each object has an associated type. So type is associated with object. Okay, and then when you assign that object automatically, then that variable at that moment will take that type. Will take the type. So because variable no type in Python, so that's why you can do x equals 10, and later on you can reassign equals string. So a single variable at a different line, it can take a different type of data. Okay, different type of objects. So be very careful about here. Okay, this concept. And also it said assignment statement. Assignment statement, be careful, okay, it create a reference to the object on the right side. Okay, so it's a reference. So you do variable equals something, so this is an object. So that means it's a reference. Okay, reference to this where the object locates. Okay, and it's also referred as binding. Okay, so this is later we will say shallow copy, deep copy, as those kind of concept. Okay, and for function, it's as because it's objects, is it? So it's passed by reference. Okay, so we needed to be careful. Okay, and also it's a variable are names for objects within just a particular namespace. Okay, so the type we already mentioned stored in object itself. So that's the key recap. After we know that, or after we know those, we already viewed those statement, is it? And then the tag completion we already learned, is it? And the import, you can do import as, is it? We learned like NumPy import NumPy as MP, is it? We already saw that. You can also do something like this, is it? From some module import some specific thing, is it? And you can also make it simplify as something. Okay, later on we will see that a lot. And also to check reference or the copy. Okay, so here be careful. So you use that is or is not to check two reference are the same objects. Okay, are the same objects. So suppose you do suppose a list A, is it is A, B, like C, something like this, is it? And then you have list B equals list A, is it? And if you want to check if A and B the same reference, then you use is or is not. Okay, and equal, this to check if both have the same copy. Same copy means they have the same contents. Okay, same content. So in this case, suppose like it also has A, B, C. Then in this case, list A equal list B. That's true. This is true because both have the same contents. But be careful, okay? So list A is at one location, and list B in this case at another location. Another location, okay. So if you do is, that is, then it is false. It's false. Okay, so be careful here. Oh, then for integer division, it's, oh, I'm sorry, it should be double slash. Okay, so double slash for integer division. Okay, integer division. And this hat sign, it's for exclusive. Okay, so this just give us some more concepts. And next, let's see. Okay, the next set, we already kind of also mentioned the idea about Python objects, is it? And later on we will also see, but because right now we haven't seen list, we just see that example, is it? It use square brackets. Okay, later on we will also learn dictionary. Okay, Python dictionary and NumPy array. Okay, NumPy array and some other defined type like class. Later on we will also learn. And over here it says they are all mutable, so you can modify that. Okay, so for list, dictionary, NumPy array, and some other, they are mutable. But be very careful, okay, in Python, it says string and tuple. Okay, tuple is identified by parentheses, and those are immutable. Immutable means you cannot change that. Okay, you cannot change that. And also string is not mutable. Okay, this is same as in Java. So string is also not immutable. And over here, it's also mentioned Python, along with its standard libraries that has some small set of built-in types, okay, handling numerical data, string, booleans, like true, false, is it, and dates and the times. And then those single value, we can call them scalar types, okay? Those are called scalar types, okay? So this is regarding objects, scalar type. So this will be our today's first class quiz. So quiz question, and you just send it to my chat. Okay, quiz question. So over here is you answer, is list is mutable. So is list mutable, true or false? Is this true or false? Okay, and the second question is about string. Is string mutable in Python? It's true or false? Okay, can you send your answer to chat? Okay. Okay, then next, let's see, what's the next one? Okay, so I think we get most part of done regarding that slide. So next, let's take a look at the second notes. Go to more detail. Okay, let's take a look more about the notes. So this, we are going to go over the second notes, okay, note 02. And indentation, no bracer, we already mentioned, object model, okay, we already mentioned, and pass argument as arguments to a function, and the variable doesn't have type, okay. And next, let's see, so okay, so here is the second quiz question. Second quiz question. So what type is A? Variable A, what is its type? We just mentioned, is it, you should be able to identify by what? The square bracket, is it, it's what? It's a list, is it, A is a list, okay? And then, did you see we do what? We assign A to B, is it? So what does this mean? Okay, so here is memory, is it, you have 1, 2, 3, is it a list? So A reference to this memory. And then in this case, B also reference to the same. Is it B reference to the same? Okay, then, and for list, you can expand list. Is it? So how do we add more item to list? Single item, you call the dot append. Okay, so then you append 5. So B then going to have what? 1, 2, 3, 5. This is B. Okay, so then here I have print A. Okay, so here is the third quiz question. Third quiz question. Print A. What will be the output? Output of print A. What is that? Is it going to be 1, 2, 3? Or what? So Because if you view over here, both A and B point to the same, is it? You add 5 here, is it? So when you do output B, it should also have 5, okay? So be very careful, okay? So this also indicates what? List is mutable, okay? Because later on we will see tuple, okay? It's completely different. Tuple is not mutable, is it? Okay, we know that. And then next, let's see this part. This part is what? Is a function. And this function has what? Has 2 parameters. Okay, and then what it does is as a P list, then it's called the append some item. Okay, so looks like it's just add some item to the end of some data structure. If you call this change list A, so what that means is you're going to add 1, 2, 3, A is already has 5. Then you append, you plug in 6. So now 6 will also be added. Okay, and then how about B? What B will have? Does B just have 1, 2, 3, 5? So anyone knows the answer? Because both B and A point to the same, is it? So B also have 6. Okay, so basically in this case, this is a shallow copy. Okay, because both A and B point to the same location. This is a shallow copy. If you modify one, the other one also got modified. Okay, so be very careful here. And the next, let's see. Over here, I have X is an integer, and you can do print. If you want to know a variable's type, you can do type. Okay, you call type function. Okay, then it will give you the type. And you see, later on, you can reassign it to a string. And if you do, it will give you str. Is it? Okay, so that's legal in Python, okay, because type is associated with object instead of variable. That's why this is fine. And there is another function, it's maybe interested, it's called isInstance. Okay, isInstant, what it does is to check if a specific object is an instance of a particular type. Okay, so here you first want to check, is it instance an integer, or is this instance integer or string? Is it? So of course, this answer will be false. And this will be true. Because it is string is already changed. Okay. So be careful here. And then what next? Tab we already did. What next method is try to show. You can check if an object is iterable. Okay. So iterable means you can visit one by one. Is it? So over here, define a function called is iterable and has a parameter, and we have colon. Is it? And did you see over here, we have try exception block, is it? And so this is just like a try catch in some other programming language, is it? And over here, did you see again? Someone, the waiting room. Hold on, let's see, how do I get back to see the waiting room? I may need to temporarily clean this. Okay, I need to get back to see waiting room. I cannot see the waiting room. Okay, let me get back to our coding. Okay, then, so what here I wanted to explain is if you take a look, so here is one indentation, is it? The first level indentation means this try whole thing. This is a block, one block, is it? And then you have second level of indentation, is it? So this is the second level of block. So in Python, okay, if you want to have block, you need to do indentation, okay? So just keep this in mind. And over here, we also have try catch, try exception block, is it? And within it, so if you wanted to check if it's iterable, you can call this it method, okay, it function. And if it's iterable, it will return true, is it? Otherwise, if there is any error, is it? It will report about the type of error, okay? And then you can call this method to check, okay, to check. Okay, and then what next? To try to show in Python is over here we have the condition, is it? And you want to check if it is some instance, is it? We already learned. And you can negate some condition, is it? This is kind of like some other programming language, you use exclamation mark, is it? And anyway, here you negate this condition, and you can also, so because over here you have two conditions. You have one condition, you have a second condition, is it? And you want to combine these two conditions together with AND. So that's how in Python you can do, okay? It use AND. In some other you do something like this, is it? Okay, so, but anyway, here it also shows. Then over here you have a block for if statement, okay, if statement. Okay, so this is regarding regarding the if block. What next just try to show us is the, like what we already explained. You use is to check reference, okay, and you use equal to check copy, okay, check copy. Then let's see over here, okay, over here. And if you record AB, okay, it's 1, 2, 3, is that it's a list. So anyway, here A is 1, 2, 3 is a list, and then we do B equals A, is that? So that means B also have 1, 2, 3. Is that basically B pointed to 1, 2, 3 to that list? Okay, and how about this? C equals list of A. What does that mean? Okay, this means it's going to call the constructor to create a new list with an iterable object. Okay, so what C here going to have its own 1, 2, 3. Okay, its own 1, 2, 3. And then if you do is B equal is B is A. So this is true. And if C is A, that's true or false? That's false. That's it. And how about C equals A? This is true. Okay, so be careful. Okay, once you do something like this, you call list of A. That means you create a new list. Okay. Okay, and what is the next one try to show is string. Okay, how do you deal with? And in Python, single quotation mark takes a string. Takes a string, okay? And the double quotation mark also takes a string. Also string. And we also have, so we also have, this is also considered 3 quotation mark, also considered as a string. Also, so a pair of the 3 quotation mark, it's also considered string. And in this case, it's multi-line. Okay, multi-line. Okay, and over here, you may take a look. If you take a close look, S equals, it has a R. After R, you have quotation mark. This means raw string. Raw string means like the slash. So it will take it as part of the string. Okay, it's not some escape thing. Okay, so this R just means whatever inside, it's part of the string. Okay, part of the string. Okay, so that's regarding and what next try to show bytes and Unicode. Okay, bytes and Unicode. So this is a string, as it it's regular, it's with a double quotation, as it, and if you do the type over here, it will return you str. This will tell it's str. And sometimes you can do the encode, you can call encode function, and then you specify encoding scheme. Okay, encoding scheme. And this means Unicode. Okay, Unicode transformation. Okay, and with 8 bytes. 8 bytes. Okay, and so it's just some code point to support multiple language for Unicode. Okay, so it's, and you may all already know ASCII code. Is it ASCII code? It's through 0 to 255. Is it? So use number to represent like a letter or some special character. Is it? So Unicode can then support beyond the English. Okay, it's a number or a lot more different language and plus some special characters. Okay. So this means you can do some encoding, is it? And you can decode it back, and then you specify encoding scheme, okay? And if you take a look, the running result, if you take like the UTF-8, is it? If you want to take a look, it looks something like this, okay? And it tells a class, then says it's bytes, okay? It's bytes. Okay, and I think